Alright, good. So in the previous class, we checked about installation of Python. So today, I want to proceed further and we look at different areas. First, I'll talk about the high-level languages and low-level languages. So when you're doing programming, you're using high-level programming. Like Python is a high-level programming language, Java is a high-level programming language, and C++, those are high-level programming languages. So what it basically means, it means that the language is easily interpretable by human. So high-level language is a language that human can interpret easily, like the basic English that we use. You realize that the code that we use, we write them in basic English that we use. So that is a high-level language. So when it comes to low-level language, this is machine language, which is in 0 and 1. So basically, human cannot write a comprehensive code that is in terms of 0 and 1. Only a machine can understand what 0 and 1 stands for. So since machines can only understand 0 and 1, and we human use high-level languages for us to communicate with the computer to give it instruction or programs, we must have an intermediary which interprets our language into a machine language. And that brings us to what we call interpreters versus compilers. Now, let me explain this further. An interpreter tries to read code by code. Like if we pass this file to an interpreter, it will start at the top and try to read the first line and check whether there is errors, and it proceeds to the next line, then up to the last line. So errors will be displayed as the codes are being executed. But for a compiler, it tries to compile the whole code, and errors will be displayed at the end of the code. That is the difference between the two. Python uses an interpreter. I think C, Java, they are compiled languages. So now you understand the difference between the high-level and low-level language. A low-level language is computer, it's machine language, which is in terms of 0 and 1, and high-level language is the language that we use. For example, the codes that we write are in high level. For a machine to understand those codes, we must have an interpreter or a compiler that translates our high-level language to a machine language for the computer to understand what we want to say. From that, we previously introduced some basic data types, and we talked about strings, talked about integers and floats, and we said that like a float, like a string, we start from string. A string is terms of characters, like let's say a place, a name, those are strings. Integers are whole numbers. Like if I say A equals 10, that is 10 is an integer. If I say B equals 30, that is an integer. But if I say name equals Peter is a string, so it's not calculatable. So in other words, we say that a string. Okay, so for integers, we saw how to do basic calculations. So for example, if we want to calculate the value a times b, we can just say, like summation equals a plus b. So this function here, this line or code gives the sum of a and b, which is 40. 10 plus 30, which is 40. So we also talked about variables. Variables which are like memory locations for storing data. So like 10 is assigned to a. So whenever we want to use 10, instead of just writing 10, or for example in this case, if you want to do summation of 10 and 30, instead of just writing 10 here and 30 here, we just call a, because a has a value assigned to it, which is 10 in that memory point. So b as well is assigned to 30, which is a memory point location that stores the value 30. So why do we do this? Suppose this was a very long number, for example, and every time we want to use this number, it will be cumbersome for us to keep typing this number. So the best way is to assign it to a variable that we can use whenever we want to use the number. Taking a case of pi, for example, if you take pi 3.142 and some other lines there, it's a long kind of what. In this case, it's better to assign the pi to a variable such that whenever we want to use the pi as whole, then we can just call the variable. Okay. Now we proceed from this point. Now we can start executing some basic commands. And the first one, we will calculate the area of a triangle. So I will do a comment here. Then we can separate our, for example, then we can calculate the area of a triangle. So we do a comment, we say calculating area of a triangle. So the area of a triangle is normally given by half. So half base times height. Okay. So if you are given a triangle with with a base as 90, and you're given a height as 65, then area will be half base, which is 90 times 65, and then you can comfortably print and say that the area of triangle is, then you can pass the area there. Okay, that is the basic way. Then we can go and calculate again. Talked about this, so let's calculate the GC content here. Percentage GC content for gene. So we assuming that we have a gene, say THGG CC TTT. Okay, it's a basic kind of gene. So now let's say if you want to calculate the percentage of a GC content, then you need to know adenine. We need to know the gene length. I say gene length. What do you need to know? You need to know the gene length. You can say, you can count it. You can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm assuming it's 18. Anyway, then I will proceed here and say adenine. No, the guanine count equals 2 and you can say cytosine count equals 2. Then what does that mean? Then cytosine guanine count equals cytosine count plus guanine count. Okay, then the percentage, you can say a percentage GC will be cytosine guanine count divided by gene length. Okay, now this you can put this into brackets. Multiply by 100. And you can come back here and say print. Percentage GCS. Pass this. Okay. Now that's the end of it. So we can save this file. I just save it as I'll just save it there. I can say session2.py. Okay, then I can try to run it and see. Terminated the returns detected in line 45. So this one is the error. Good. Run it again. So it gives the area of a triangle is this and the percentage GC content is that. So interesting because it has ignored all these others because they are comments. Remember we said that when you comment something, the machine does not interpret that as a code. It knows that a comment information